big story of the week. India's rooftop solar market is bubbling with new energy. Government announced Madhvi Surya Yojana with an aim to install rooftop solar power systems for 10 million households in India. 11 gigawatt could be achieved by 2022. Now, with increased domestic manufacturing and fresh impetus from government, scenario seems promising for solar panel manufacturing companies, electrical companies, wire and cable companies, and even companies engaged in battery storage and metering.
Well, at the same time, we are turning exporter in the solar module space. Well, India's solar module exports, to other countries for the year 2022-2023 was valued at 8,500 crores, and US remained the largest client of export of solar modules from India. Well, to understand this landscape better, we are joined by our editor-in-chief, Nikunj Dalmia.
So Nikunj, what we have seen is that solar generation capacity in India, they've grown at a rapid phase, and we've seen massive development in the last 10 years. Everybody's talking about this is a sunrise sector. This is the next big sector. What do you see about the entire landscape? How big is this opportunity?
Well, solar is of course sunrise. So it is right to say when you say solar is the sunrise sector. Let's put some, data points here. India is rich in sunlight, but it is poor in hydrocarbon, right? India does not have hydrocarbon. Naturally, we are not blessed with it. But naturally, we are blessed with a large land mass, and we have abundant sunlight there. Yeah. How do you convert solar or sunlight into a source of energy? Because India's energy demand is increasing. Now, for any source of energy to become large, it has to be affordable. Affordability is a function of price. If one looks at the solar price generation, the cost of generation in last 10 years has come down by almost 60 to 70%. Whereas coal prices, which is the largest source of production in India, coal prices have remained static. So solar prices have come down by 60 to 70%, and coal prices are intact. And incrementally, solar prices will keep on coming down. The reason why solar prices will keep on coming down is because the raw material, which in this case is solar panel, and then solar panel also have chips in them, silicon wafers, the prices globally has come down anywhere between 80 to 90%. A classic example here is a floppy disk or a data storage. The cost of storing data, let's say when I was in my young days, was about 100 rupees per GB. Today, that cost has come crashing down, and today you can take a cloud of 1 TGB, not 1 GB, 1 TGB, which is 1,000 times more at only 50 to 100 rupees a month. I think that is how advent of technology, and when technological advancements they happen, the cost it tends to come down. Another classic example here is mobile phones. Yeah. There's a time you would pay 7 to 8 rupees for an incoming. Correct. And that's the time we started this whole tagline, missed call de dena. Right. Now voice is free. Data prices have come down. So I think in solar also the same kind of factor is at play. Now what do you require for solar to become a successful source of energy? Cost has to come down, government push has to be there, and then large investments have to come in. So price is becoming affordable. The Prime Minister, the Power Minister, the policy framework is now tilted towards encouraging more solar generation, whether it is for industrial, whether it is for industrial parks, or whether it is rooftop or solar rooftop. And then third and the most important is also your bent globally towards promoting what could be called as non-renewable. Global warming is a real concern, and the only way out, which could be a easy solution, is to reduce the carbon emission norms. Energy sector, if you are really reducing in the dependence on carbon emission, that in a sense is, I think, is very, very crucial. So, sometimes things are really right, and I think for the solar sector, things are right. In India, there is abundance of raw material. B, there is a policy framework which is favorable. 3, prices have come down, and 4th, private sector capex has started.
Right. Nikunj, keeping with the private sector capex and the government push in the form of PLI schemes, while India has become self-sufficient as far as the solar modules are concerned, we are still struggling with the solar cell manufacturing capacity. Do you think we need more push by the government in the form of PLI schemes, or more private capex is required?
See, some process has already started. If you look at some of the leading solar module manufacturers, they are already setting up capacity, or in the process of setting up capacity for solar chips. Now, the reason why Indian local players were not there is because China, in a sense, was the dominant player there. They had scale, skill, and even affordability. And the government push, in a sense, was not really tilted towards promoting manufacturing in the entire solar cell space. Now there seems to be an intent, there seems to be a push by the government, and PLI schemes have come through. So I will not be surprised that after COVID, the supply chains which have got changed in favor of what is happening to solar manufacturing as a push will only multiply. Now there is some global data which I was referring to, which in a sense seems to be indicating that by 2035, the total energy which will be generated by solar plant or by solar, as a source of energy could actually be higher than coal-based plants. Now that is a meaningful change which will happen, and I think that is something which in a sense is going to be the most meaningful change at a global level. Last year, less than 2% of the total electricity was generated by solar. But in next 10 years, that number can easily go to 15 or even 20%. So that kind of a surge, I think, would be evident in terms of where the solar-based manufacturing in India would be moving, or solar-based energy generation move. Manufacturing is not the right word, energy generation is the right word. The other aspect is that the biggest drawback for solar also is that, look what happens when there is no sun. Monsoons, bad winter.
Or at the night.
Or at night. So power up until now was not, we were not able to store power. But over the years, there are two things which have happened. One is pump storage, and B, the cost of batteries come down. Just like cost of solar modules and rooftop is coming down, the cost of battery is also coming down. There's a lot of R&D happening at global level that how can you store power. So imagine in the day if you're generating solar power which is surplus, you will be able to store it in battery. And the solar pump stations are also getting ready where you can actually, large part of can be used even in the non-peak hour. Now these are two important aspects which are crucial and important for the functionality. So what do you need? Prices should come down, which they are because of R&D. Government push has to be there, which it is evident. You need localized, more local dependence, which seems to be happening. And then the whole issue of what will happen to solar generation and solar storage, that also seems to be getting addressed.
Thank you so much.
Nikunj, thank you so much for your take, and thank you so much for taking the time out.
And let's also understand the entire landscape of solar rooftop solutions and how self-sufficient we could be in solar module manufacturing. We are joined by Harshvardhan Dole, VP for IIFL Securities. Mr. Dole, very warm welcome. What we understood is that solar-based power generation capacity has seen a substantial increase in last 10 years, but most of the addition has taken place in ground solar parks. Solar rooftop solution has seen little success. What do you think about this space? How big is this opportunity could be, and how self-sustained we could be going forward in solar module space also?
So I think if the government policies are now right and aligning towards promoting this segment, the growth can be humongous. And last time when I checked, based on the module prices and the break-even economics, this market can be as large as 35 to 40,000 megawatt in terms of installations. So the market size is huge. See, the whole solar, PV module, if you were to break it down, it comprises of silicon, polysilicon, wafers, cells, and then modules. So the modules are the final product. And thus far, what we have is basically thin assembly line capacity, which aggregates cells which are sort of imported, and the final product is kind of pushed out. In terms of value addition, it is probably the lowest value added product in the overall value chain. And to that extent, it's a good beginning. The import duty has ensured that there is mushrooming of capacity, and no person who wants access to solar panel run short of capacity. So that's a good beginning. I think now the challenge is to encourage the private sector and do the vertical integration. I think for which the PLI scheme is working really well.
All right, Harshvardhan, thank you so much for joining us and weighing in on the topic. But with that, it's time for us to slip into a short break. Don't go anywhere, because after the break, we are getting you a special interaction with our RWI champion.